Tell me a little bit about what you do.
So my name is Angela Moore. I'm a certified financial planner. I also have a master's degree in financial planning, and I'm a master planner, advanced studies. I'm also a chartered retirement planning counselor and a certified financial education instructor. And I'm the founder of Modern Money Advisor, which is a financial planning firm for young professionals. And we also have a platform called Modern Money Education, where we offer classes and mastermind groups focused on personal finance.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And you're a mom, right?
And I'm a new mom. My daughter is 5 months old now.
And so how do you fit all of that in? Like, that's a lot to do, especially now.
Right. I don't have childcare right now. I don't know. Somehow I'm making it work. I guess that's what everyone's doing right now.
I work at night.
Right.
I put him to sleep, and then around 10 I start working, and then I kind of log off like around 1:30, just silence. It's amazing. So tell me a little bit about how the current pandemic has affected your business. Positive or negative, I guess,
Well, I've definitely had a ton of calls and emails from the general public asking questions about COVID-19 relief packages, about the business loans, what to do about student loans, what to do about, just everything. I've had a million different questions, and I've been fielding those. And I've also had a lot of people that have come to me that have realized all of a sudden, man, I don't really have it all together financially speaking. I definitely should seek help, and a lot of that is from a cash flow perspective, creating a budget and implementing a savings strategy and it's starting to invest. And I think just a lot of people kind of felt comfortable prior to this happening, and now they're like, oh my goodness, I should have been saving more, I should have been doing this, I should have been doing that. So I'm getting a lot of calls like that, and I'm helping a lot of different people. A lot of my clients are high income earning young professionals that probably should have been saving more, but it's just a lifestyle thing here in America that 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's regardless of what income level you're at. So
I was about to ask, does it matter that they are young professionals? Because I guess maybe you would expect young professionals not to be living paycheck to paycheck.
I think that's what everyone thinks, but I have clients that make $100,000 a year, $250,000. I've even had clients that make over $1 million a year, and they're living paycheck to paycheck when they come to me. So I don't think it matters how much you're making. It really matters about your mindset about money and that you're prioritizing saving. And I think part of the problem with that is that it's hard for most people to have structure. It's just hard to visualize that, I guess. So where we come in is we help provide that structure and help implement, a saving strategy and just kind of automate everything so that you're not even having to think about it. It's just all happening. You're automatically saving, you're automatically investing, you're automatically paying down debt, and kind of systematizing your whole financial process.
And do you have like an income cap limit to not cap, like a floor of who you represent and help out?
No, but I think that, you have to have some disposable income to be able to sign up for our one-on-one type programs. We do have a course that we launched to kind of help people that maybe aren't able to work one-on-one with us. So we're trying to serve as many people as possible and help. And, we also have some free content and free materials on our website as well.
So like, for example, maybe like one of my employees could go on there and learn how to get to that part in their life where they're not, where they have some disposable income.
Yeah. I mean, for people who aren't clients, we have videos on YouTube. We have a free budget template on our website. We have a free course on our website. And then we have paid courses. So there's a lot of resources out there for everyone, really. And then for clients who need kind of that hand holding and want that more one-on-one service, we have that in the form of financial planning and also financial coaching. And people are always asking me, like, what's the difference between financial
I was about to ask, actually.
So for us, financial coaching is more focused on specifically what the client wants to talk about, and usually it's cash flow. Usually it's like, I want to create a budget, I want to pay off debt, you know, that kind of thing. Whereas financial planning is very structured, and we go through the financial planning process, which entails retirement planning, insurance evaluation, estate planning discussions, talking about your employer benefits and reviewing all of those, reviewing all your debt, creating a strategy around that, investment strategy, and an analysis of your current investments, and a risk tolerance analysis. So there's a whole
that seems like to go more in depth.
It's a whole process, and then we go through it step by step, and we also create a financial planning report at the end. So coaching is more so like, oh, I need to stop spending money, or I need to get on a budget, or, you know, or mentally, I don't know why I'm doing the things I'm doing with my money. That's more coaching. Planning is more like, okay, let's do an analysis and button up your financial situation and make sure all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And estate planning is a very essential piece of the financial planning process, because it's one thing to accumulate wealth, right? And that's where investing and saving and and budgeting and all those things come in. And then there's wealth protection, which is insurance, right? And then that kind of carries into estate planning. Okay, wealth protection, and also leaving a legacy, and making sure that you are planning for estate taxes, and, you know, if something were to happen to you, kind of thinking through the different scenarios that could happen, that do happen to a lot of people, and they are unprepared for those things because they have not done estate planning or financial planning or any of it.
You know, I've met quite a few financial planners, you know, I guess as an estate planning attorney, it's like they come to me, but I've never met anyone that has written so passionately about estate planning. And I'm referring to the blog that you wrote on your website, which is modernmoneyadvisor.com. And for those of you watching, you just go to blog, and then you click on the absolutely adorable picture of a little baby with like huge cheeks being squished by her parents. So that's the blog that I'm referring to. And, you know, you really got into it. And I found it so interesting because for me, you know, most financial planners talk about the financial part, like planning and budgeting and investing and all that stuff. But they'll mention estate planning as an essential part, but never to this, you know, degree. So why did you write this article? As you know, and I would love for you to read some of it. I don't know if you have it handy. And if you don't, I'll read what I think what I found to be the most interesting part, which for me, it's all of it because it's estate planning. So I like it all. But I don't know if you want to read some of your favorite parts.
I can.
I love your first sentence. Honestly, it's my favorite. It's estate planning is for the unselfish. Yeah, I said it.
Yes. You know, I'm very passionate about a lot of things that relate to financial planning, and estate planning and behavioral finance are my two favorite topics to talk about. Behavioral finance, because it's all about our mindset. How are we thinking about money? But then estate planning, the behavioral finance part carries into estate planning, because so many people, for whatever reason, do not feel comfortable talking about death. They don't want to talk about life insurance. They don't want to talk about creating a will or a health, like they do not want to address that. And then there's the behavioral finance component or aspect of the whole overconfidence thing, right? Like, oh, that's not going to happen to me today or tomorrow. I have time to do that, right? I'm still young. Like, oh, I'm only 50. I'm only 30, you know, whatever. Oh, that's something to do later on down the line. And that is overconfidence, because the truth of the matter is you could step out of my office tomorrow and get hit by a bus. You know, you could get in a car accident. You could, I mean, there's a million, you could choke on your food at dinner. I mean, anything can happen at any time. There's no good time. There's no better time than right now to do estate planning.
I always tell people, if you're waiting until you need it, it's too late.
Yeah, and I think the reason I'm so passionate about it is because when things happen, a lot of times I'm one of the people that people come to get help. And that situation that you're in when someone passes away, it's overwhelming. Because, you know, let's say your parent passes away, or your spouse, like you've spent all these years with this person is someone that is dear and beloved to you, and they've passed away, or they're in the hospital, right? Mm-hmm. The last thing you want to be doing is going around to this financial institution and this law office and this, and dealing with paperwork that you don't understand. And it's like mind-boggling. Like, you just don't have the mental capacity to deal with those things at that time. And as a financial planner, I've seen that firsthand. I've had people come in who someone's deceased or in the hospital, and they are lost. They don't know where to go to. They don't know who to talk to. They don't understand the paperwork. It's frustrating, you know. Then, like, a lot of times, whoever it was that's deceased or incapacitated has accounts all over the place. It's a mess, right? And it's like, I don't even know what they had. I mean,
my favorite is, I think they had life insurance. Can you find it?
No, I mean, so, you know, estate planning is so important because you're going and you're meeting with an expert, and they're telling you this is what you need to be aware of. They're helping you prepare, and then they're telling you, here's all your documents. Make sure you file them electronically so you have a copy in case, you know, something happens. Make sure you give copies to your beneficiaries so they know where everything is, and you're being educated. So it's kind of like that choice. Do I want to stay ignorant and like assume everything's going to work out, or do I want to be proactive and take care of my loved ones? Because I don't want my loved ones going through a hot mess, a disaster when I die. Like, simple things. I mean, for example, you know, sometimes I ask people, do you know where your parents have all their assets at? What financial institutions do they have accounts at? I don't know. Do they have a will? I don't know. What do you know?
Somebody to make medical decisions if they get sick?
Right. Have they done anything? I don't know. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you this, I've been a financial advisor for a little over 12 years now. And, you know, I worked at Merrill Lynch. I had over 150 clients there. I had over 300 clients at Charles Schwab. And now I have many younger clients in my current business. And I would estimate that maybe 5% of them had a will. And most of them needed to have more than a will, right? I think everyone needs to have a whole entire estate package, in my opinion. And when I think of estate package, and you're the expert on this, but I think of, you need to have a will. Your will needs to say who's going to take care of your children if something happens to you, right? There needs to be a trust so that your family doesn't have to deal with probate as much as possible. There needs to be a healthcare directive in case you're hospitalized, right? And I tell even clients who have children like in college, I'm like, let's say your daughter is away in college and she gets a car accident and she's in the hospital, and here you are calling trying to get information on your daughter. They're not going to tell you anything because there's HIPAA laws, right? So unless your daughter,
once they turn 18, they're not your babies anymore. Despite the fact that
they're grown. They're grown. They're an adult. So now they're going to be treated like an adult. And you're calling like, this is my daughter, you know, blah, blah, blah. They don't care. I mean, you have to have planned for that. And I think the biggest issue is that we're not taught these things in school. Nobody really even knows what the word estate planning means, first of all. When you say will, people really don't understand what that means. They think, oh, I only need a will if I have assets. No, everybody needs a will. You know, a healthcare directive, people haven't even heard of that most times, unless they've
I have
had
to
a
explain
family.
it. But yeah,
I've
it's
never heard that. A power of attorney, they don't understand, like, so I think, you know, as a financial planner, storytelling is so important, because you can paint a picture and people can now see themselves in that situation. Like, oh, you know, especially now we're dealing with a global pandemic. People are dropping like none of it. I don't even know, like, tomorrow am I gonna catch something and you know, a few days later I'm not gonna be here. Like, I don't know.
or be on a
But
ventilator and not be able to make decisions, and
right,
then who
right,
does?
exactly. So the thing is like, have you thought of, and I think the problem is most people don't even understand the depth of it until they actually sit with a financial planner or an estate planning attorney.
Or even worse, they've gone through a probate or a guardianship, and then they realize, oh yeah, I don't want that to be me. And that's something
Yeah,
that now they have firsthand experience, which they really shouldn't have had to begin with, because if they would have, you know, if their family member would have created this estate plan, even if it's the most simple documents, you know, I would hope that more people create trusts, but not everybody does. But at least having the just the bare minimum to cover yourself while you're alive, to make sure that you've named someone to make decisions for you if you become incapacitated. Just that alone can save your family money in attorney's fees and costs, and grief, because now you have to go through the court system to be able to make decisions for someone who needs it desperately. And then it also opens the door to litigation, because what if there's more than one person that wants to do this, and now they're fighting, and now not only is this causing you grief because you're litigating, but it's causing you more money because you're litigating, and all of this is going to get paid from the assets of the person who's incapacitated. So, you know, a lot of people don't realize, you know, what can happen. And as a litigator in both probate and guardianship, I've seen how it can go wrong when you have either no plan or a poorly drafted and managed plan. So it's, you know,
and
I
you know, like a lot of things government oriented, it's not easy to figure out. It's not self-explanatory. You basically have to pay lawyers, and not only that, you've got to deal with the financial institutions, and you know, it's just so much. It's over. Even me as a professional, I don't come to me asking me for help with, I don't know how to do it. Like, no. You know, I've told clients before, you need to hire a trust company. Or, you know, because I've had clients whose parents you know, have become ill, or even, you know, clients where one of the spouses, something's happened and the other spouse doesn't even know what to do. And it's like, it's so complex. It's not even something that I can help you with in a 1-hour meeting. This is like, you need to hire an expert to help you with this. And estate planning can really help avoid that and simplify things. There's little tips and tricks that, you know, I know as a financial advisor that I've advised clients, like, if you have assets that are not liquid, you know, you may want to consider making them liquid. Like, if you have multiple houses, maybe you want to sell the house and put the money into a brokerage account or something like that. Because when you pass away, it's so much easier to split an account that has beneficiaries on it, or, you know, has a trust, is it titled in a trust, than to have to be dealing with properties and businesses and all these different things. So, I mean, everyone's situation is so different and unique. It really is worth it to sit down and go through your situation. And
not
then
only that, but and I'm sorry to interrupt, but with a trust, your unique situation and your unique family, you can draft the document to fit what it is that you want to happen with your assets, for the benefit of your family. So, you know, if you want that house to last, you know, the remainder of your child's life and not be sold, you can do that, or you can demand that it be sold and liquidated, or you can do it before. You know, you have so much control with a trust that you can fit your plan to fit to make it to fit you, which is, you know, It's great with
Yeah,
a will. You
I
can do
pretty
that.
much recommend that everyone have a trust. And I think that's another misconception is people think of that word trust fund baby or whatever, and they think rich, rich, rich.
Yeah,
And I
no.
think that everyone should have a trust
Especially
regardless, you
with
know.
children, that are minor or even young adults. Maybe if without a trust, they get everything at 18 after, a series of procedures and guardianship. But, are they ready to receive everything at 18?
I've seen that. I've literally any story you think of, I've seen it. I've had clients whose children are in college and are coming up, getting $1 million, and the parents are frantically calling me like, "Oh my God, what can I do to stop it?" And I'm like, "It's too late. You would have had to, talk about this before you made this choice.
I have a
This is
guardianship that
irrevocable."
he's turning 18 and the mom is freaking out because she knows her daughter isn't ready to receive the money, and it's not even that much money, but she's asking, can you postpone it? And I'm like, I cannot. She's 18. She's entitled to this. I cannot do anything. The law requires that the guardianship be closed and the funds be distributed to the now adult. So, and it's going back to your article, the same thing that you went through. By the way, I know you have like a ton of stories. We went through kind of something similar, where you talk about how you experienced a spouse that was lost, who lost her husband, and she felt lost and she just didn't know what to do. I feel like I wrote the article a little bit, not at a car dealership, but I actually went and sat with a tax attorney, and he met with a spouse who lost her husband, and she was just grieving and worried and lost. And when she left, she was just relieved because she got that assistance that she needed to kind of move past this. But a lot of people are lost, and if you don't go see an attorney or you don't go see someone like you, it could be very daunting. So,
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
definitely.
And then I know in the middle of your article, and I know we went over this, but behavioral finance, is that you analyzing why we make the decisions we make financially?
So I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist or any of that, but money can be very emotional for many people. Some classic examples, if you have a debt collector calling you and you get anxiety, right, when that phone rings. When you think about creating a will, you get anxiety because you don't want to think about dying, right? When you think about saving, you're like, oh my God, I'm so behind, or I don't want to do a budget. I don't want to look at my finances. Or, one of the questions I ask people all the time is like, how much student loan debt do you have? I don't know. I don't look at it. It's like that avoidance thing. And where is that coming from?
I'm laughing because I'm in that boat. That's actually me. How much do I owe? I just pay every month. I don't know.
That's a very emotional thing, right? And when it comes to money, it's very like, I'm the chief financial officer of me, right? I'm managing my personal finances, and that needs to almost be run like a business, not an emotional thing, right? Our relationships are emotional, but our money is not emotional. It shouldn't be emotional. But people have biases towards things. It could be cultural. It could be the way you grew up, what you saw your parents doing, right? Like your shopping habits have a lot to do with what you saw your parents doing. Or, if you were young and your parents always said, no, you can't have that. Now you're older. Now it's like, I'm going to ball out and buy whatever I want because, I never had when I was younger, or, whatever. Or some people feel like money is bad. And so they fall into these habits of under earning because they feel like the pursuit of money is an evil thing. There's so many mindset things going on with people. The cultural thing, like, here in Miami, it's a dime a dozen. You'll see people who actually keep money under their mattress, like, because in South America and Latin America, like, oh, we don't trust the banks, and this is what my grandparents did. And I mean, it's every culture has their own thing, and everybody grew up seeing certain things. And I have my own story. I mean, like, the reason I do what I do and the reason I'm so passionate about it is because of my own financial background. Like, I just pretty much made every mistake you can think of, and one day started realizing that, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? And I went and I got a financial advisor, and he was life-changing. And it was at that point that I was like, I want to become a financial advisor because I want to start, changing people's lives. And that's kind of what I do. And
Well, it's a good thing you started young. Not everybody does.
yeah, I guess.
I've seen a lot of people that are in their 50s and 60s and they're in debt and they don't have a long-term care plan and they don't know how to manage money and they're just paycheck to paycheck and just lost.
Yeah, I think that the money you pay an expert to help you, you get that back 10 times, tenfold, for sure. Because like if someone goes and spends money on a trust, for example, wait till they see how much money that trust saves them later. I mean, they can't see it, but
they're not going to be able to see it because you saved it. But from my experience, and I let people know, sometimes estates, especially if they're litigated or if there are a lot of creditors or properties that need to be sold, that can go into the 20,000, 30,000 amount, and more. And that's just being, conservative there. When it's a highly litigated estate, forget it. I actually had a very contested guardianship for some minor children, and that was in the hundreds of thousands in attorney's fees that could have been easily resolved with a proper estate planning. And that's just, it's crazy.
So when people bark at that, oh, it's $1,500 or it's $5,000 or whatever their particular estate plan may cost, it's like, that's nothing compared to, what would happen if you didn't have an estate plan.
Yeah.
So.
Is there anything else that you'd like my clients and followers to know?
One thing I always tell my clients is it's important to have a team. So I always talk about it's important to have a really good estate planning attorney. If you own a business, you need to have a business attorney. You need to have a CPA or a tax accountant, and you need to have a financial advisor. And obviously, all financial plan advisors are not created equal. There's some that focus on different things. Like there's a lot of people out there that call themselves financial advisors, but some of them specialize in insurance sales, right? So maybe they work at an insurance company and they specialize in life insurance, but they're calling themselves a financial advisor. Then there may be someone else who calls themselves a financial advisor, but they specialize in selling investments and investment portfolios, and they're not necessarily doing full financial planning. And then there's those of us that do fee-only financial planning. We're really focused on all parts of doing a financial plan. And so like me, for example, I'm fee only. I don't sell any products. I don't sell insurance or anything like that. But I cover insurance, I cover investing, I cover retirement planning, I cover estate planning. And when it comes to that part, I may say, hey, you really need to have this amount in life insurance. This is the kind of policy you need to have. This is what would happen if you didn't have this insurance. And, here's someone you can go to purchase this insurance, or you can go wherever, right? Or, hey, you don't have any kind of estate planning done. Or, hey, you haven't updated your estate plan in 20 years. Like you have your deceased parents listed as beneficiaries. Like there's a problem here. This needs to be updated, right? So then I'll say you need to go to an estate planning attorney. And it's the same, like I'm not going to sit here and try to act like I'm a tax expert. I know enough about tax, but at the end of the day, I'm going to say, hey, you really need to be working with a CPA, or you need to have your tax attorney review this, or, whatever. So I think it's important for people to understand, like, your CPA is not your investment advisor. Your investment advisor is not your financial planner. Your financial planner is not your estate planning attorney. Like, you need to have a team of people that work well together, and you need to have relationships with these people, because it's not one of those things where, oh, I did estate planning. Like, I've heard that a million, oh, I've done a financial plan. Well, that's so outdated now. Like, that needs to be reviewed and updated. That, you know, and then, you know, let's just be honest. You can go to one doctor who's amazing. You can go to another doctor that is horrible, right? It's the same with all of us. Every estate planning attorney is not built the same. Every financial planner is not built the same. So you really need to be interviewing these people and finding out, what is your process? What are your credentials? You know, what type of clients do you work with typically? What
It's funny because
specialize in?
I have this estate planning checklist, and I think it was like step number 4 is find the right estate planning attorney for you. And all of those questions are in there. You have to know that the way that this person functions is going to fit how you function. And all those, you know, asking all those questions and not just settling for the first person you meet, and really understanding and doing your research who you're sitting down with, because this is a relationship that you're creating. And I've seen many clients that come to me and say, I created a will with, I don't remember the attorney's name. And I say, or I created it. Oh, the worst. This week I'm dealing with a trust that someone else created, and the clients don't have a copy of this trust, and there's assets inside of the trust. And it's just, you know, poor planning and lack of education. And it's because they did not, I feel they did not do their research in choosing that attorney. That attorney doesn't specialize in estate planning. I think their previous attorney is real estate or something. So it's really important to ask those questions and make sure that you're comfortable and that you can really trust the financial planner that you're going to put your finances and your life in the hands of, you know, because this is, you know, it may not be your health that you're putting in their hands, but this is something really important.
And I think it's important for people to realize how important every component is. Because, for example, if you're doing estate planning, you really need to have your tax, tax person reviewing how that estate plan is going to impact your tax scenario. A lot of times I've seen people that have an estate plan, but then they haven't implemented anything. So, for example, they'll have a trust, but they won't have any assets titled in the trust, right? Things like that. So sometimes what will happen is your estate planning attorney and your financial advisor can work together and have calls and meetings so that, you know, the estate planning attorney is saying, hey, they need to title these assets in the trust. And then your financial planner can help you get those assets titled that way. Or the CPA or the tax person needs to come in and, you know, evaluate how this language in the trust will affect your tax situation. It's way more I always talk about, the more I learn, it's like climbing a mountain. And, you know, like when your knowledge is down here, it just seems simple. But as you climb that mountain and you learn and you learn and you learn, you realize how vast everything is. I mean, I have multiple degrees and certifications, and the more I learn, the more I realize how complicated all this is. And the fact that people are out here trying to like wing it and like go with the flow and don't have a plan, that's really, really bad. And they don't even realize how bad that is because they have no idea. They assume that, like, for example, you assume that, I'll give the example of Aretha Franklin, because when she died, I went ham. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I couldn't even believe it. This lady had $80 million and had no will. And I just thought to myself, oh my God. And, you know, everyone in the public was commenting about it, like, oh, her kids are going to get that money. You think? That's a whole process that's going to take years, and it's going to cost so much money. And if she had just had an estate plan, instead of paying all that money to attorneys and the courts and all these different things, she could have had some of that money go to charity. You know, she could have had direct beneficiaries on stuff. I mean, there's just so much. It's crazy to me.
Yep, me too. But a lot of people need to be educated and to go out there. So I'm really glad we're doing this, because I'm going to post this on my website and wherever else I can, to make sure that people understand how incredibly important it is to have all of these components working properly to make sure that you have a good future.
And you know, I'll say this too. until I studied for the CFP, which is the Certified Financial Planner, I did not even know all this. I mean, for years, I was practicing as a financial advisor, and I was, working in a brokerage firm. And, the brokerage firms, they're really focused on investing. And so I would ask clients, do you have a will or whatever? That's all I would ask. I didn't understand the complexity of estate planning. And, it speaks to why I recommend working with a certified financial planner, because certified financial planners are required to go through training on each one of these topics. We have to go through tax training, estate planning training, insurance, retirement, all these different topics. And so you're really getting someone who understands the dynamic of how all those different pieces work together, almost like the quarterback who's the center of the team, and now they're bringing in the attorney, they're bringing in all these different parts of the team. And I think that's really important, that just because you went to a financial advisor or financial planner doesn't mean that you got everything you needed. Mm-hmm. Which again comes to like interviewing people and finding out, what is your process? What do you do? And all that kind of stuff.
So I'm hoping that, when we edit this, your information will be there so that my clients can reach out if they have any questions. Do you charge for answering questions?
No, but we have a lot of different, options available for people to work with us. So yes.
Well, I'll tell you this, booking this interview with you is pretty easy. I don't know what system you use, but going online and just picking a time that worked for me was really, really convenient. So that was pretty cool.